Third Winter Olympics in which the sport of ice dancing has taken place, but interest has grown with every appearance, and tonight that interest is at a new high. That's principally because of the dazzling team from Great Britain, Jayne, Torvill, and Christopher Dean. They were national idols even before they left home, but tonight is the night in Sarajevo. At Zetra Arena now, Al Michaels with Dick Button and Peggy Fleming.
A full house is expected at the Zetra Arena tonight, and there's a lot of excitement in the air. I know that's a cliche, but the names Torvill and Dean are on everyone's lips in Sarajevo as we get set for the free dance portion of the ice dancing competition. And there are the standings halfway through, 50% complete, and tonight's event counting 50% of the overall score. Torvill and Dean of Great Britain on top. Bestemianova and Bukin of the Soviet Union are second, and the American couple of Blumberg and Seibert are third and seeking the bronze medal. 1 point for first, 2 for second, 3 for third. It's very simple. If Torvill and Dean win tonight's portion of the ice dancing event, they will clinch the gold medal. And that will not be a surprise to anyone because much like the case of Scott Hamilton, everybody expected Torvill and Dean to win, and they certainly haven't disappointed anyone so far. They've completed half the event in great shape. A couple of sixes up on the board, in fact, the other day. That's nothing new for them, and they have really dominated this sport. It's a sport that only came into the Olympic Games in 1976 in Innsbruck, and it's the third time it's been contested now. In 76 and 80, the gold medals were won by Soviet couples, so that string figures to be broken tonight. But it's a sport that goes all the way back to 1951 when it was first included in World Championship competition. Let me turn now to Peggy Fleming. And Peggy, as you well know, you rarely see athletes dominate a sport like this. What about Torvill and Dean? What makes them so special and so spectacular?
Well, they're in a class all by themselves. They are so creative and so innovative in the things that they have done. In the past, they have skated to music that is not the typical ice dancing music that has the obvious changes of music and tempo in them. They have skated to themes and gotten the audience into a mood. One year they skated to Mac and Mabel. It's a play, and they acted out characters and acted out the play more or less in their interpretation, and we thought that that was the best that we'd ever seen in ice dancing. The next year they came out with another number to Barnum, and then we thought that was the best thing that we'd ever seen. And this year they have a new number to a classical piece of music of Ravel's Boléro, which is it's just stunning. It is the most creative thing that we have ever seen in ice dancing, and this couple has changed the scene of ice dancing, and I expect them to bring the house down tonight. They are absolutely fantastic.
Very little doubt that no one will be leaving early as they get set for Torvill and Dean. So they figured to win the gold. And the American couple, as they turn out at Dick Button, Blumberg and Seibert right there where most people expected them to be, they have a very good chance to win the bronze medal. What do you think of their chances?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Blumberg and Seibert are marvelous dancers. I think that they are of Olympic caliber, along with Torvill and Dean. Their deep edging, their speed, their fleetness over the ice is simply marvelous. They're going the same path that Torvill and Dean are in the direction of the music that they have chosen. There's an interesting correlation between the two. They are skating to the piece of music called Scheherazade by Rimsky-Korsakov. Now, that was first performed as a symphonic suite in 1888 and as a ballet by the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo in 1910 with choreography by Michael Fokin, and it starred the great Václav Nijinsky and one famous lady dancer, Ida Rubinstein. And it was that Ida Rubinstein who in 1928 asked Maurice Ravel to compose a piece of music for her to do a dance pantomime with a Spanish setting, and he responded with nothing else than the Boléro. And of course she performed that then in 1928 at the Paris Opera. And it's interesting to see that if she related to both of those two pieces of music, that it is not unlikely that Blumberg and Seibert and Torvill and Dean would both relate to similar pieces of music. Something is there that relates for both of them in this kind of direction that they are taking the sport of ice dancing at this time. I'm a great fan of both Torvill and Dean and Blumberg and Seibert, and I find them fascinating to watch.
So now Carol Fox and Richard Dalley, sixth, coming into the free dance portion. Again, this is worth 50% of the overall score. They're from Michigan, but they train in Delaware under Ron Ludington.
The music of George Gershwin. The style of dancing, more the standard of what we've known of ice dancing over the years.
her mother create the costumes that she wears. She actually sews on the beads herself. So she really gets into the creative part of costuming and really reflecting the interpretation of the music through that costume.
What the rules mean by a change in tempo and a change in style of dancing. Did you see that look that he gave her right there? That tells you something about the relationship of the two of them. And you know, that was, in a way, it was a wonderful number. It was an evocation of ballroom dancing at its best. It's the kind of ice dancing that we've seen for 20 years. They do it so well. The changes of music, the changes of tempo. It's all very much as though we were out having a great time at the country club or the local dance hall on a Saturday night. And that's what ice dancing until this day has been. And in many instances, I think some people yearn for that simplicity rather than the great deep moments of movement that are coming up in some of the other performances.
Marks here very good.
Moment.
Dick and Peggy, as you look at the marks now for technical merit, 5-3. Again, the British judge has been marking quite low tonight, all the way up to 5.6, Peggy, from Canada, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary. So, as you mentioned, not only are the couples getting better as the evening wears on, the marks are too.
Isn't she cute?
And there is the British judge who has been down in the 5-2, 5-3, 5-4 category. His marks quite low tonight throughout. And artistic impression 5-5 up to 5-7 for Carol Fox and Richard Dalley.
Well, congratulations. That was lovely.
Thank you.
Are you happy with it?
Yes. This was a dream to be here and skating, and we feel that we did our best, and that's how
Your marks were very good, particularly in the artistic impression. Do you think that's because the judges like the more standard style of skating that you do, as opposed to sometimes the one-theme kind of dancing of Torvill and Dean or Blumberg and Seibert?
I'm not really sure, because we tried to go with something that was pretty cohesive, the Gershwin music, but we try to do different interpretations within the music as well. So,
what's the Olympic experience mean to you?
Dreams come true.
Terrific. Congratulations to you both. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Our busy evening will continue from Sarajevo. More ice dancing coming, ski racing, and other things.
In third place, and here they go, Judy Blumberg from Tarzana, California, Michael Seibert from Washington, Pennsylvania.
The seriousness of their dance to Scheherazade. Watch particularly the fleetness of their line, the deep edges, the speed.
That move is wonderful. Very difficult, too. This is what Michael and Judy are known for, these beautiful edges and like such flow over the ice. Their extensions on their legs. Michael is very interested in fashion design, and their costumes are done by Mary McFadden here. And they're just lovely. The very typical pleated, I think it's chiffon.
Keep in mind, Michael Seibert, some question about a groin injury that he had. Didn't appear to bother him through the compulsory dances or the original set pattern. And also, he's been out of action, out of training because of mononucleosis for some time this winter.
It's really a tough luck story. There are some moves coming up later on in the program that I think will probably hurt the injury to his leg. But thank goodness it's at the end.
These edges.
That are probably going to hurt him if he's going to hurt that leg. That stretching. He got through that. Oh, and this is their ending move.
The story is of the slave that he finally freed, but she wouldn't leave him. the point of that move.
What a marvelous performance. What a wonderful development that whole piece of music is. The suspense through it is so exciting. It's so, I find, a brilliantly conceived ice dance routine. For me, it has a load of charm and talent.
So Judy Blumberg and Michael Seibert, and judging from their reaction, Peggy, how pleased are they?
Oh, yes, I think they skated very, very well. And they both are, have gone through so much with his injuries, and it's very hard to concentrate on something as special as the Olympic Games.
And here are the marks now. Very good for technical merit. The lowest mark, 5.6 from the Soviet judge, up to a 5.8 from both the Italian judge and the American judge. So 5.6 to 5.8, the range right there for technical merit. Elaine DeMoore is the judge from the United States. And up now come the marks for artistic impression, and they are in that very same range. The low is 5.5 from the Italian judge, and there are a quartet of 5.8s for Blumberg and Seibert of the United States.
5.7, 5.6, 5.8,
Wonderful.
Thank you.
It's just as brilliant.
Thank you, Dick.
You happy with it?
Yes.
Did your groin hurt?
Yes.
You couldn't tell it.
It's killing me now, but it doesn't matter. We skated really well.
I am your #1 fan. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dick.
Now Marina, Klimova, and Sergei Ponomarenko from the Soviet Union.
She is absolutely lovely on the ice. She is only 17 years old, and he's 23.
They're in 4th place coming into the free dance.
She is so expressive with her face and her arms, and she just floats over the ice. She's great.
That marvelous Soviet enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
Marina, Klimova, and Sergei Pономаренко of the Soviet Union. We've already seen Blumberg and Seibert, a good performance. These people right here, the Soviet couple, were directly behind Blumberg and Seibert coming in.
And if they pass Blumberg and Seibert, it will be an expression for an enthusiasm of this type of ice dancing, the ballroom, waltzing, foxtrotting, polka, and tango look, as opposed to the single theme based on semi-classical music or classical music.
Of the Russian style, the quick steps that we always see. They're very balletic and long edges and very balletic-like out there.
Mexico, all they'd have to do to pass the American couple of Blumberg and Seibert is get better marks in this part of the competition, the free dance. It's as simple as that.
Fresh and energetic. I think that the earlier part of their program was more expertly contrived. At the end, it kind of seemed to dissipate somewhat. But they certainly are a charming couple, aren't they?
Yes,
most
very much
attractive.
so.
Most attractive.
I'm hearing a little chanting behind us.
Tone of your voice indicates that it may be very, very close to the bronze.
Well, I think it's a matter of a distinction of style that the judges prefer, and I think that that's going to be the determining factor.
So with great interest, not only will they look on, but I'm sure Michael Seibert and Judy Blumberg as well. As the marks now come up, and they're good for technical merit, the low of 5.6 all the way up to 5.8 from both the Hungarian judge and the Czechoslovakian judge.
Now you can see right out of that Klimova has the first 3 judges. She's lost the 4th, she tied the 5th, she gets the 6th, she loses the 7th, she loses the 8th, and she loses the 9th. So at least as far as this point, here's the second set of marks now.
Artistic impression coming up here, and very consistent. They are all 5.7s and 5.8s. The 5.8s from the Soviet judge and the Italian judge.
And from a very, very quick look at that, you can see that she is, it's too close to call.
Introduce the Soviet couple, Natalia Bestemianova and Andrei Bukin in second place coming in. Of course, there's a major problem for Torvill and Dean. They could ascend to the gold medal, but right now they're thinking about the silver.
The interesting thing about this pair is to note is the repetition of the moves that they do. They frequently repeat the same move, not once, but 3 times. Secondarily, it's very much a folk dance. There.
This is very typical of their style of doing those tricks over and over again and at such speed, and they do things so fast. Very quick steps.
The almost frenetic and hysterical tempo at which she skates, the head movements, the excessive number of leg movements, more movements per measure than almost any other skater, I think.
And she is very dramatic. She really gets into these numbers totally.
dancing, Soviet folk music. They stated it's the movements that go on in a Russian bazaar.
All the couples that have skated so far have been skating very, very well and seem to have enjoyed their performances. I haven't seen that look of sheer tension and terror in their faces like you normally see a lot of at an Olympic Games. They seem to be having a good time.
Very festive and fast and folk art dance. Very well done.
Natalia, Bestemianova, and Andrei Bukin of the Soviet Union. Which Soviet couple did you feel had the better performance?
Well, I think that obviously this couple is in the standing position. I mean, they're second place coming into it. Their dance was a first-rate one, and it all around, I think it probably represents a better quality of ice dancing than Klimova does, although she's very elegant. I fear at this moment for Blumberg and Seibert. I hope they have held on to third place.
And here are the marks now for technical merit. The low is, again, the judge from Great Britain. That's Courtney Jones, 5'6", and there are a total of 7 5/8s up there. So very consistent for Bestemianova and Bukin.
There they are with their coach, Tatiana Tarasova, who's been one of the important Soviet ice dancing influences over the years.
Look at these marks here, all 5'8" and 5'9" for Bestemianova and Bukin. You're telling us right now that the Soviet couple of Klimova and Ponomarenko have moved in front of the American couple of Blumberg and Seibert, but we'll have to wait until later to see if that is confirmed. But apparently they have, for the moment anyway, moved into bronze medal contention. But right now the crowd awaiting Torvill and Dean. They have gathered here for this performance. As the draw would have it, they are the last to appear. They are seeking the gold medal in ice dancing, a couple that really has transcended this sport of ice dancing. Let's meet them up close and personal with Jim McKay.
Most cities have a statue somewhere of their most famous citizen, even if he's mythological. That's why there's a statue of Robin Hood in the city of Nottingham, England. Robin stole from the rich to give to the poor. The city's current best-known citizens, Jayne, Torvill, and Chris Dean, steal from no one. They create themselves and give to their fellow citizens who love them.
Because they come from Nottingham. They've got to be perfect.
Everything comes from Nottingham. It's wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
We want to be noted for sort of ambassadors, if you like, for Nottingham, for England. That's what we want to try and do. We don't want to be outrageous in any way, and people look at them and think, oh, they're a bit weird anyway. I think we just like to identify with the people as well.
Last spring, the Nottingham City Council proclaimed this daughter of a bicycle machine operator and this son of an electrician freemen of the city of Nottingham. Their money in the bank to this town, which 3 years ago voted some $70,000 worth of public funds to support their training. They're a cottage industry unto themselves, photo sessions to model the new Olympic uniforms. With free dance routines based on Broadway musicals like Mack and Mabel and Barnum, they now have an album of their own out in a book. Their coach, Betty Calloway.
It's hard to say what made them something special. I suppose total dedication. Also that it has never they've never allowed all the fuss to go to their heads.
Okay, so I'll give you a bit more room at the top.
There's very little time for themselves. Costumes fitting right is just part of their complete attention to the details of performance. That's their trademark, always being on target, like Robin Hood. They know who they are and what they want, and they deal with realities. Chris will compare the relationship with a marriage, except, as he says, they spend more time together than most married couples because they work together 10 to 12 hours a day, every month, all year long. By now, they're an exquisitely tuned human machine dedicated to perfection in ice dance.
We're really very lucky because we can complement each other. Jayne, she's so brave, she'll do anything. Chris has this ability to think of all new ideas. I mean, he thinks up all sorts of, what appear to be crazy ideas at the beginning. And I'm the technician.
If we say, well, it's only just a little move that nobody will really see it. If you let go on small things, it'll tell at the end of the performance or the end of the competition. Everything has to have equal importance. And that's what we try and work by.
That looks better, Chris, when you get down a bit lower. People have often said to me, well, aren't you proud of them as skaters? Well, yes, of course, I'm proud of them as skaters, but really, first and foremost, I'm proud of them as people.
Although we think alike a lot, we don't have the same personality. Chris,
I have the same temperament.
Chris is, he can get angry very quickly, and I won't be angry. It takes a lot before I'm angry, and I don't have so many moods as he does. I'm usually the same.
Yeah, she's very stable. And that kind of makes up for my ups and downs. It levels things out, I guess.
And now the moment this crowd, this capacity crowd of the Zetra Arena has been waiting for all night long. And as the luck of the draw would have it, they are the last couple to perform. From Great Britain, Jayne Torvill and Christopher Dean seeking the gold medal in ice dancing.
A dance to a single composition of music, Ravel's Boléro.
Note particularly the opening sequence, lasting as long as 20 seconds before they even begin to skate.
Christopher Dean. He helps in all the choreography, and everything they do is original, and it's very different and very interpretive to the music.
progression of moves, each one different and progressing further with each step and beat of the music. There it is. You know, really a beautiful performance. It was perhaps not difficult, perhaps no changes, perhaps nothing. You can criticize it from here to zero, from here to the end of the week. But it was a beautiful, emotional experience, and that's what all that counts about this dance. Wonderful. So far, it's the first and only standing ovation we've had.
Treat to see this live here tonight.
Oh, it's amazing. The crowd was just absolutely mesmerized during the entire performance.
Everybody has criticized it for so many weeks now and complained about it and said that it's broken the rules, and it really makes no difference whatsoever, because as good as it is, it can transcend any of those rules.
Two athletes have dominated their sport in such a way. Torvill and Dean, and the marks are coming up now for technical merit. Per usual, we've become accustomed to sixes, and there are 3 of them, and the rest are 5.9s. So they received perfect marks after the original set pattern from some of the judges. All 5.9s and 6s for Torvill and Dean. There's little doubt about the gold medal. There was little doubt coming in. And still to come the marks for artistic impression, and they'll be in that same range and across the board.
All the way across. That is a first.
All perfect marks.
Oh, we are so lucky to be here to see this. This is wonderful.
All 6s across the board for Torvill and Dean. The climax to the ice dancing competition, and they are the gold medalists. Jayne Torvill and Christopher Dean from Nottingham, England. Been skating together since 1975. The world champions, of course, now the Olympic champions. And it's the first time in Olympic history we have seen all 6s from all 9 of the judges for artistic impression.
One word, Christopher. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It was really super. You should be congratulated. You and Jayne both. I think it was a marvelous performance. You happy with it?
I'm exhausted.
Are you glad it's over? Thanks a million, Christopher.
We'll be back in a moment with a presentation of the medals. No doubt the gold medal won tonight by Torvill and Dean.
Also, our computers, as we mentioned, telling us that Blumberg and Seibert did not win the bronze, and we'll see if that is confirmed when we come back.
The results are in. Torvill and Dean, of course, have won. The two Soviet teams, second and third. Bestemianova and Bukin, second. Klimova and Pономаренко, third. The gold medal being presented by Juan Antonio Samaranch, the president of the International Olympic Committee, to Jayne, Torvill, and Christopher Dean, and they earned every bit of it this week. But no medal for the Americans here, although it was as close as it could possibly be for the bronze. Klimova and Pономаренко finished third in tonight's free skating phase, which tied them overall with the Americans. Now that sent it to the first tiebreaker, which is the free skating finish. It's sort of a catch-22. If any one judge who placed the Soviets ahead of the Americans, any one judge had gone the other way, Judy and Michael would have had their medal. It couldn't get any closer than that. But still, the night belongs to Torvill and Dean. There they are. For Chris, it started when his father, an electrician, gave him a pair of ice skates for Christmas when he was 10 years old. As for Jayne, well, she was at one time a pairs skater. However, she finished last in the European Pair Skating Championship 12 years ago. Then she found Chris Dean. All of the medals have been awarded, but no Americans on the victory stand. A great effort by Michael Seibert, particularly skating with that pulled groin muscle. He even had to admit after it was over that it hurt, and hurt a lot. And right now, as he goes back to his room, you can be sure it hurts even more. By the way, Jim Lampley will have an interview with Torvill and Dean on our late night coverage, half an hour from now, after your local news.
To assume that in addition to pleasing the judges, you skated up to your own expectations here.
Yes, we were satisfied with our performance. We wanted to give a good performance, and hopefully that's what we did tonight.
Christopher, did you experience pressure here as a result of the fact that it was the Olympic Games, or merely the pressure that you create for yourselves to do well?
I think it's both. Like, this is the highest point of our career so far, and this is what we've been working for, and tonight, just a few minutes ago, came true, so you can imagine how we feel.
You've been given credit for having stretched the limits of the sport, athletically and artistically. Would you like to see the rules liberalized even further to allow you to explore more new things?
Not really liberalized, but we'd like to see people being innovative and trying new things and new ideas.
It may be premature to ask this, but can you tell us what your plans are for the future and when we might be seeing you again?
Well, we have the World Championships in Ottawa in March, and that's what we'll be working for next.
And is this Olympic gold medal the kind of fulfillment that you had looked forward to as a crowning achievement of this career, or do you look forward to even higher things in the future?
Well, at the moment, we're quite happy with it.
Yeah, we're satisfied so far.
The world is thrilled to have watched what you've done here. Congratulations, and thanks from all of us for having given us so much pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. The marks of two judges denied a bronze medal to Blumberg and Seibert. Other Americans, Carol Fox and Richard Dalley, finished 5th, a very strong performance. Lisa Spitz and Scott Gregory finished 10th. We'll be back.
A beautifully inventive performance. However, when it was all over, here were the final placements. Klimova and Ponomarenko of the Soviet Union beating them out because they had 5 third placements, and Blumberg and Seibert had 5 fourth placements. Had one judge changed their vote the other way on the free skating phase, the Americans would have won. Donna de Verona caught up with them tonight.
The pressure off, the performance given. I'm with Michael Seibert and Judy Blumberg, who finished 4th in the ice dancing competition. Michael and Judy, reflections now.
It's over. I mean, we're here, and it's now we start to enjoy Sarajevo.
Yeah. I know that you must have gone through so much tension preparing for the moment. Can you take us through that and how you look at it now? It's been a few hours since. You've had many, many interviews. What's gone through your mind?
I think just that we know that we went out there and performed when we needed to, and we did it for us, and it felt good. And whether or not we got the medal, we did it for us.
It's important for us, but in the long run, I mean, when we go home, we look back on this in 20 years, and we know that we tried our best, and we prepared the best that we could have possibly prepared.
We heard that the Italian judge had said that you were knocked down because of your choice of music. Can you respond to that?
I don't know. Do you let somebody who is, I don't know whatever she's done as far as a competitor. The only world champion on the panel gave a second.
The music was okayed by the referee, said that all music was legal.
If that's what she wants
that's
to
what
find,
she wanted to find the loophole, and if that's it.
That's her decision.
In a subjective sport, isn't that what you have to live with all the time? You have to deep.
That's right.
You have to deep down inside know that what you did was right for you, and that you did what was right for you. I think we did. I think that the people at home know what we did and can be proud of us as we are of ourselves.
Because we got each other.
Last year during the World Championships, one judge cost you a medal, and it happened here all over again. When you knew about it, did you go back to that moment?
Oh my God.
I mean, it hits a lot of strings. It really does, because this year especially was it was the best program we've ever done in our lives. We skated really well, and to have that negated by a panel of judges is difficult to handle.
A lot of people felt you were really courageous with your pick of music, that there always has been controversy. Looking back, would you have made the same choices?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We believed in it. The program was good, and it was very us, and we felt that what we did to it was ice dancing.
Well, figure skating, scoring, and judging may not be quite as complicated as Einstein's theory of relativity, but it's certainly more controversial. Dick Button is with me in the studio right now. Would you please try to straighten this whole thing out for us about the music and the controversy, and what is the deal, really?
Well, basically it's this. The controversy is between whether ice dancing should stay in the form that it's been in over the past years, which is basically a wonderful ice version of ballroom dancing, whether it's tangos or foxtrots or jitterbugs or discoing or fruging or rock and roll or waltzing or whatever, but ballroom dancing, the kind of thing that you do staying alive on Saturday night, or whether you're at the country club or whatever. Or is it going to go in another direction, perhaps a more classical direction, and that's the direction that Torvill Dean have taken it in. Now, the rules are very clear. They say you should not use music that is based upon sonatas or ballets or operas unless it is either transcribed to the rhythm of jazz or folk music, or unless it's based upon jazz and folk music tempos and that kind of thing.
But Torvill Dean had classical music.
But before we get to that,
all right,
it has been clearly stated by Lawrence Demi, who is a past world champion, is the head of the technical committee of the ISU, and is really the guy who has the last word on ice dancing, that he listened to all of the music of all the dancers and pronounced them all perfectly okay. That still leaves it, though, he said, up to the individual choice of the judges. That's why it's subjective. It's their choice. Now, Blumberg and Seibert were not in a solid third place coming into the final. It was a very tenuous and shaky position. Right. And any one of those judges could have made the change by giving them third instead of a fourth place and allowed them to have that bronze medal. Basically, I think it comes down to the choice of whether or not the judges want to have skating go in the direction that Torvill and Dean are taking it, or whether they want to keep it in the more of the ballroom kind of look. Torvill and Dean are so superior and so good then none of them is going to express any dissatisfaction with that performance. But I think that Blumberg and Seibert, in a sense, were hurt by that performance, but by the fact that they came in after Torvill and Dean. And as a result of that, the judges felt that they were, in a sense, telling them they wanted to keep the sport the way it's always been.
Thanks very much, Dick. So in a sense, it isn't what you do, it's who does it.